All right, so today we'll be ranking in this video the three most disappointing teams versus the three most surprising teams so far in the NFL season. We're about a quarter of the way through the year, four weeks in, so we kind of have a good understanding of what these teams are. So keep in mind, a big part of this is expectations. So if I had larger expectations for a team, they're going to be higher up if they were disappointing. And if I had lower expectations and they're really good, then they're going to be higher up on the surprising. So let's get right into it. Starting with the most disappointing teams, at number 3, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. And I know the big selling point for this team coming into the year was the offense. But first, I'd like to address just how bad this defense is. You think of how much money this team invested into Chandler Jones this offseason to pair with Max Crosby and create a dominant pass rush. They've only recorded one sack through 4 games. That's tied for last place in the NFL. They're 22nd in defensive yards allowed at 357 per game. Going to their offense, 12th in total yards. They can't even crack the top 10 with one of the best receiving cores in football. Devontae Adams, a lot of people contend, is the best receiver in the NFL. Renfro, great player. Darren Waller, a top 3 tight end in the NFL, arguably. Derek Carr has just not looked good at all, which is shocking given the weapons he has. 1,038 yards, 6-4 touchdown interception ratio, and a putrid 61 completion percentage. They're 1-3 right now. A loss to the Chargers, lost to the Cardinals, lost to the Titans. Only win was against Denver. So that's why they're at 3. I didn't really see them as a playoff team this year, just given how good that division is. They just really have disappointed in how bad their defense is. The production on offense, given the weapons, is just bad. So they're at 3. And at number 2, we have the Indianapolis Colts. This is a team that I predicted to win the AFC South, and they have been basically a dumpster fire. It's kind of surprising that they beat the Chiefs out of all teams to beat the Chiefs. We all kind of chalked it up as a fluke, but outside of that game, they've been an unmitigated disaster this year. I expected big things from their front 7, particularly their pass rush. They're tied for 23rd in the sacks department right now with 4 games into the season. They have a 1-2-1 record, tied with Houston week 1. Lost to Jacksonville in embarrassing fashion. They got shut out. Like we said, week 3, the weird win against Kansas City, which we all know is a fluke. Then they lost to the division rival Titans. Matt Ryan putting up a 5 touchdown to 5 interception ratio. Atrocious. I know that they're not good in the weapons department, but that's really bad, particularly behind this really good offensive line, having Jonathan Taylor. I mean, this team, they moved off of Wentz because they didn't like his play style. But say what you will about Wentz, he's a playmaker. He might not be the most efficient player, but he can generate points, whereas this offense right now is putrid. In terms of total yards, they're 14th, which actually kind of surprises me. I think that really just comes down to more to Taylor because the passing game has been pretty bad this year. The defense has been lackluster, and they just don't look like a good team right now. So they're at 2. And the most disappointing team so far is the Los Angeles Rams. Their defense has been pretty lackluster from what we're used to. They're tied for 12th in sacks. A team that has Aaron Donald on it, you would not expect to be that low for sacks. They're 16th in defensive yards allowed, so literally mid of the pack there. Their offense has been really bad as well. That's mainly why they've been so bad. The defense is mediocre at best, but the offense has been trash. They're 26th in total yards. Matthew Stafford, 1,015 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions, which is nasty. It seems like he's only willing to throw the ball to Cooper Kupp, or maybe Cooper Kupp's the only one who gets open. It seems like no other receiver really gets involved in this offense. Allen Robinson looks washed. Van Jefferson's out. So that's concerning. The O-line is clearly nowhere near what it was last year. The run game is nowhere near what it was last year. And this is a team, before the year started, I had them as the number 1 team going into this year. I think that's kind of just what you do by default when a team wins the Super Bowl. But anytime they've played real competition, and what by that I mean contending teams, they've lost in embarrassing fashion. Week 1 against Buffalo, they lost 31-10. This past Monday night, they lost to San Francisco. Yeah, they beat up on Atlanta. The Falcons are one of the worst teams in the league. In Arizona, we know they're not that good this year. So they've been very bad. This is the team that I picked to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, and they're clearly not. I don't think they even have a shot at making the playoffs right now. They're struggling to beat bad teams. They almost blew that to Atlanta. Stafford's looking terrible right now. So crisis in paradise over there. The Rams are the most disappointing team so far. Now we get a bit more optimistic with the 3 most surprising teams so far. And we start off with Jacksonville at 3. If you listen to my power rankings, this team made it. They were the number 10 spot. The thing that's really impressed me about the Jaguars is their defense looks really good. They're tied for 7th in sacks with 6 sacks so far, and they're 14th in yards allowed, which is, above average. The offense hasn't looked amazing, and I think that the offense is, as time goes on, going to get better. You're going to have Trevor Lawrence just get more incorporated into Doug Peterson's hiring. One of my favorite under-the-radar signings that's not really talked about enough. Doug Peterson, I've always been a fan of his. You got to keep in mind, he is one of the very few people to beat Bill Belichick head-to-head in a Super Bowl. Really surprised me when Philly decided to fire him a couple years ago. So he was a great hire. I think they're already a good fit with him and Trevor Lawrence. The offense, like I said, is only going to get better as time goes on. And Trevor Lawrence has the best TD to interception ratio out of the players on this list. 8 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. And 946 yards, looking really good. And Christian Kirk is making that contract look justifiable. At the time, it looked like a head-scratcher, but it's starting to pay off now. So good things for the Jaguars. And like I mentioned with the Colts, I thought they'd win the division. I think the Jags have kind of pulled away in that, and it looks like this is their division for the next couple of years. And at number 2, we have the Dallas Cowboys, a team I predicted to be bad with their starting quarterback, and they've reached a 3-1 record where Dak only played one of those games. So the thing for Dallas that makes them so good is their defense is elite. They have 8 sacks, and they're tied for 3rd most in the NFL. They're 7th in defensive yards allowed at 308.5 per game. So nothing crazy offensively, obviously, when you have a backup playing. But he's handled it really well. He has a 4 touchdown to 0 interception ratio. He's been efficient. He's elevated guys like Noah Brown. CeeDee Lamb's done really well in this offense. Nothing crazy. He doesn't take any major risks, but he just manages the games, gets the ball to the playmakers, and the defense takes care of it. We all know Micah Parsons is a top 5 to 3 defensive player in the league right now. Trevon Diggs is an elite corner. They have playmakers on both sides of the ball, and they're really just making it work right now. I don't think there's a realistic conversation between Cooper Rush and Dak. Dak is clearly better. They paid Dak all that money. They have to start him when he's ready. But Cooper Rush, you got to give the guy a lot of credit for stepping in. Dallas is obviously a big team with a lot of eyeballs on it, and he's handled the spotlight really well so far, and I'm really excited to see how they perform against the Rams coming up. And at number 1, the most surprising team in the NFL is the Philadelphia Eagles. If you watched my power rankings from week 4, this was the team I had in the number 1 spot. And I'm not surprised that they're a good team. I'm surprised at how dominant they are. I picked them to win this division. But if you would have told me that they are the best team in the NFC before week 1 started, I would have laughed in your face. I would have told you the Rams are better, the Bucs are better, 49ers are better. Hell, I even probably would have told you the Cardinals were better at that time. But they are clearly the best team in the NFC. I think as of right now, they're the best team in the NFL. They're 2nd in total yards on offense, dominant on that side of the ball. A.J. Brown has been a seamless fit. And defensively, they're 3rd in defensive yards allowed. So they're dominating on both sides of the ball. They have the best O-line in football, best secondary in football, playmakers everywhere. Jalen Hurts is performing at an elite level. 1,120 passing yards. 4 to 2 touchdown interception ratio, but for rushing, he has 205 yards and 4 rushing TDs. And like I said, A.J. Brown has been an absolute monster in this offense. So that's my 3 most surprising teams versus the 3 most disappointing teams. You guys let me know down below if I missed any big teams that should have been on one of these lists. Thanks for listening. Subscribe and stay tuned for more videos. Thank you.